All right, Representative Bridenstine, it's sort of a new era in Washington, D.C. Can you talk about the atmosphere here now with the new administration?
Absolutely. So I'll tell you, my constituents, I think a lot of Oklahomans are very excited about having a new presidency, a president who will follow through on his promises. And of course, we're already seeing a lot of those promises be fulfilled with everything from environmental regulations that are affecting, of course, the Farm Bureau in Oklahoma, but also all kinds of other promises, the refugee resettlement program, and it is a new era where you have a president that is following through on promises he made on the campaign trail, and everybody around here is very excited about it.
So for years, we've been fighting against regulations, like you said, like WOTUS, the Clean Power Plan. Now that's all changing. So what can our priorities be now in Washington, D.C.?
So I think what we need to do now is start thinking about how do we, it's not just about fighting against the regulations, but it's about how to make America the preeminent place in the world to do business. And of course, agriculture is a big part of that. So at some point, we're going to see maybe tax reform. And we've got to make sure that when we do tax reform, that the tax reform benefits Oklahoma's farmers, Oklahoma's ranchers, and ultimately we are the most competitive country on the planet to do business and to export our products.
In talking about tax reform, can you discuss the death tax repeal? Do you think that's a possibility?
Yeah, I think there's overwhelming support, especially from Republicans, on the repeal of the death tax. I would also say that when you think of tax reform overall, Section 179 has a lot of support. The idea that breeding livestock can be depreciated in 1 year instead of 5 years is a huge advantage, and of course it's necessary for food security in this country. So I think there's a lot of agreement on the Republican side of the aisle. Where we're going to have some challenges, just to be honest, is we want to lower the rates. And when you lower the rates, it's not just corporate tax rates. There's a lot of C-Corp farmers, but there's also limited liability companies and S-Corps and just sole proprietors. And so what we have to make sure is that the tax reform isn't just on the corporate side, but it's also on the individual side for all the flow-through entities. And ultimately, I think we can do that. But again, when you lower those rates, you have to broaden the base because it's going to have to be tax neutral or revenue neutral because we're going to do it through reconciliation, and reconciliation requires it to be revenue neutral. But when we do this reform, we have to make sure that what we do benefits entrepreneurs, which farmers or entrepreneurs, benefits the agricultural industry, which is the second biggest industry in the state of Oklahoma. And I think there's going to be broad support for that. In fact, maybe even bipartisan support.